When the color-coded Homeland Security Advisory System was first adopted, many Americans wondered what they could do to prepare themselves and their families in the event of an attack. Specific disaster readiness guidelines are available from many sources.
There are over 100 million households in America. Every one of them different, but they should all have two things in common: a family disaster plan and a disaster supplies kit. Make yours today with help from the Red Cross. When we come together, we become part of something bigger than us all.
The Red Cross has launched a campaign that we call Together We Prepare, and there's really two things that we think are very important there. The first is that this is something that we all do together. We're not operating independently. It isn't the Red Cross doing this for you or the government doing this for you. It's all of us, individuals, communities, the Red Cross, and government working together to prepare our country, our communities, and our families and ourselves for a potential disaster. And so the first element of that campaign is to make a plan.
Developing a family disaster plan can be as simple as assigning responsibilities for each family member. Create an emergency communication plan, including an out-of-town contact. Establish a secondary meeting place away from your home. Check on the school or daycare emergency plan of any children.
And then the second element is making a kit, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. My wife and I went to a local discount store, and we bought a big plastic tub with a lid on it that sort of snaps shut, and we got some essential items that we thought we would need if there were a reason why we had to either evacuate our home on short notice or remain in place without certain services that you normally have.
A family disaster supplies kit can include these basic items: water, non-perishable high-protein food items, first aid supplies, a change of clothing, emergency supplies including a flashlight and battery-operated radio, some basic tools, and personal items.
And then the third thing that we talk about is getting trained, and that can be as simple as paying attention to all the information that's going around. But what I would really encourage everyone to do is seriously consider having at least one member of every family who's been trained and certified in Red Cross first aid and CPR.
Red Cross recommendations are available from the Milwaukee chapter at 342-8680 and on their website at redcross.org. While Milwaukee has not been identified as a part of any terrorist threat, plans have been made. Security has stepped up in various buildings consistent with any heightened awareness and alert status. The Milwaukee Waterworks plants increased their safety measures some time ago. There's more control over access at our waste treatment plants. Security changes and deputies are very visible at the airport. The Coast Guard has increased its patrols on Lake Michigan and in the Port of Milwaukee. Firefighters and other rescue workers continue to train to deal with toxic or biological hazards. While 911 remains a number for medical emergencies and terrorist threats, the Milwaukee Health Department has established a special hotline number, 286-3616, to provide and receive information about public health and bioterrorism. Their website at milwaukee.gov/health offers answers to frequently asked questions about biological threats.
Perhaps one of the most important functions of the health department specifically is to be aware of the health conditions of our population and to use that, if you will, as a signal to us that something has gone awry. So we've always had to be in a position where we'd know if there was a disease outbreak going on. We've been sharpening those tools, particularly given the need and the opportunity. If there were, for example, some kind of bioterrorism event, we might have the opportunity to engage in early intervention, but especially if we learn early enough. We think that for the average member of the public at this point, it is not a good use of money or time to develop very special preparations. For example, gas masks are only as effective as the training of the person using them. And so for most of us to run out and buy a gas mask, it is not going to protect us unless we are adequately trained in its use, unless it's inspected every month and the canisters are changed and so on and so forth. Similarly with medicine. The medicine that we stash away in an emergency today may be outdated a year from now when we need to use it. Immunizations, we think it is critical that everybody have their routine immunizations. People are hearing a lot about smallpox vaccination. Smallpox vaccine does have a higher side effect rate than most of the commonly used vaccines, and it's not clear that it's really necessary for the public at large to be vaccinated, nor is there vaccine available for the public at large yet. However, public health and the healthcare world are working now to make sure we have systems where if we had to deliver medication or vaccination to a large hunk of the population all at once, that we would be prepared to do so.
Information on domestic preparedness is available by phone at the Health Department and Sheriff's Office of Emergency Preparedness. The Office of Homeland Security and Red Cross websites are just two of many other locations for information on preparing for emergencies. The Mental Health Association of Milwaukee also has information for children and adults on dealing with increased stress and anxiety. Many officials believe you remain far more likely to be affected by natural infections and disasters than those caused by terrorism.
There's probably a higher level of fear than there is the actual reality of something happening to you or to me or to someone we know and love. But that's a natural human reaction. I think all of us need to find where our comfort level is and then respond appropriately to that.
At the most basic level, I think people need to recognize that the risk of a serious attack in our city across the entire United States is relatively small. And that what we need to simply do is, again, prepare not just for terrorism, but for general emergencies, emergencies we may not be able to predict, emergencies that may just be natural events like a heat wave or a snowstorm. And perhaps, as the federal government does frequently remind us, a certain level of alertness.
A number of city departments have collaborated on a brochure, permit information for the Harley-Davidson 100th anniversary. It's available from the Special Events Office at 286-3329. Mayor Norquist helped unveil one of the unique parking signs that will be used for special Harley events around the city. And officials urge that anyone thinking of hosting a get-together contact the correct city department for permits for their events.
If you're going to have a block party or a church festival, it's really good to try to work with us on that because of the volume of the people that we expect and the bikes that we expect. And if you want to invite bikers to a party, we can help with that to make sure that everything goes smoothly.
I'm here to encourage all of those citizens in Milwaukee who are having special events at the time that Harley will have their gala here to apply for those special events now or as soon as possible. We on the Common Council may have place some restrictions on the number of events that may be going on.
The thousands of Harley-Davidson motorcycle owners and others who will be coming to Milwaukee offer a lot of opportunities for individuals and organizations. But remember, you can't just block off a street or have a festival for them without checking first whether you need a permit. One place to check is the Milwaukee Development Center, which issues festival permits.
Festival permits are events that are held on private properties, and all festivals do require a permit. If your event is going to last 4 or more days, in addition to the permit application, we'll be asking you to submit a plan of operation and a site plan. Part of that festival permit will also include probably some other permits. Tents that are 600 square feet in size and have at least 2 sides also require tent permits. We issue permits for bleachers, for fireworks. We issue permits for retail marketing, temporary sales of different retail items. So there's a variety of permits that we do issue.
The Development Center is responsible for permits for private property. The Department of Public Works handles permits for events in the public right-of-way.
In other words, this would mean city streets as well as city sidewalks and any city property. And for instance, we do own a few parking lots that we also let people use when it comes to big special events such as the Harley 100th anniversary.
Plans are already well underway for many of the larger block and neighborhood parties that need city permits to produce their events.
And actually we've sat down with them because these particular organizations are doing a lot more in the public right-of-way. Not only are they barricading the streets in order to set up booths and beer tents and exhibits and things of that nature, but also they are going to require some police resources as well. As a matter of fact, we do know that there are some smaller neighborhood groups that will have block parties, maybe not necessarily thinking that they're going to so much attract a lot of the riders that come to town, but their own neighborhoods that want to be a part of the celebration. They just want to celebrate in their own small, special way. For the neighborhood groups where you're going to shut down and all the neighbors are getting together to do something on their block, there is a special block party application that they can take out, and there's no fee for that.
Now, if you want to serve food at your event, the next stop is the Milwaukee Health Department.
The first type of food sellers are peddlers. Those will be hot dog carts, wagons, trucks, push carts, people selling food on the public way. In order to do that, they need a peddler's permit. And if they're doing any restaurant type foods, they're also going to need a permanent location within the city of Milwaukee. And then the other type of food licenses are the food stands that are generally at your major festivals or street festivals. That needs to be applied for at least 30 days before the event and paid for at least 5 days before the event. None of the food licenses will be issued until the stand is inspected and passes the health department regulations. So we do have guidelines available, and we're available to talk to vendors to make sure that everything is safe before they actually set up and serve food to the public. The health department also issues licenses for temporary tattoo or body piercing establishments. If someone wants to come in and do tattoos or body piercing on a temporary basis, they would also need to be licensed and inspected.
Planning on selling beer? The city clerk's license division handles that permit and permits for people who want to sell merchandise in the public right-of-way.
We issue temporary Class B tavern permits. That's taverns who want to have events outside of their regular premise. In the state of Wisconsin, you can't sell, barter, or give away alcoholic beverages without a license. So if an individual does not have a license, they cannot do that. There are exceptions for nonprofit entities that can get a Class B beer and a wine license for specific locations as long as they have control of that ground. That means they'd have to file for an occupancy permit for a specific site. Then they would apply with us for that permit. We issue direct sellers. That's people who want to sell items on the public way. It would be direct sellers that they have to get from us. They're also required to get a state seller's permit because we cannot issue the direct sellers until they get the state seller's permit.
Planning on music or a noisy party? Camping? Your next permit stop, the Department of Neighborhood Services.
We're primarily involved with two issues, and one is a temporary noise variance, which essentially is a permit to exceed the noise levels. Basically, an application is filled out, inspections made, there's proper spacing, that there's proper toilet facilities, lavatories, garbage disposal facilities. Fire safety issue is also important, that these things are not located in a proximity where it's going to cause a big problem, such as a residential neighborhood.
And another thing to remember in connection with any event during the Harley-Davidson celebration.
No one can use the Harley logo or use actually the words Harley-Davidson Motor Company without express consent from their company. You can say something like celebrating 100 years of motorcycles or a salute to 100 years of motorcycles, but you cannot use that logo.
Welcome to the Milwaukee Public Museum and our Sue exhibit. I'm going to call her Sue rather than he or she because actually we aren't certain whether she's a he or a she. Some people call her a boy named Sue. Let me give you a little background first. Sue was found in 1990 in South Dakota,
in the Hell Creek Formation. It's on the western end of South Dakota. And it's an interesting story because Sue Hendrickson, where Sue got its name, was working on that area looking for bones for quite a long time, and one morning she found some bones on the ground and she looked up, and in the side hill she saw huge bones sticking out, and she knew pretty quickly that she had a T-Rex. It took 5 people 17 days to get Sue out of the hillside and about 2 years to get her assembled.
These tip-to-tail guided tours are offered free several times a day. The full-size replica is on display in the museum's special exhibits gallery through June 1st.
Well, we're very excited about having Sue here at the Milwaukee Public Museum, even though it's right down in Chicago. We're very fortunate to be able to offer it to Milwaukee and really southeastern Wisconsin. Dinosaurs are near and dear to the heart of the Milwaukee Public Museum, and we have a lot of expertise on staff, but this is an entry point for people to realize what we do behind the scenes, and also when they come and they look at our regular dinosaur exhibit, which is called The Third Planet, this offers an extension of that. We focus on our own research down there, as well as there are probably half a dozen, if not more, dinosaur skeletons and full fleshed out models for kids to look at and learn about.
The scientific name for Sue, Tyrannosaurus rex, is Latin for tyrant lizard king. Only 22 skeletons have ever been found. Sue is the most complete at 90%.
She's 42 feet long, she's 13 feet high at the hip, 250 bones, 58 teeth, almost all of which were found. Also, notice her teeth are all pointed towards the back of her mouth. That's because she's a meat eater. And once she grabs onto something, she doesn't want it to get out of her mouth again. It's like a fish hook. You see some very unusual structures here right at the neck. Those are called cervical ribs, and they're there for muscle support to help hold the heavy weight of this neck. Sue weighed 7 tons, and as I told you her size before, 42 feet long, it's kind of like a semi. In other words, she's about as long as a semi, and she's about as heavy as a loaded semi. If you can imagine seeing her out on the highway.
Exhibit highlights include hands-on interactive stations that allow visitors to get an eye-level view of Sue's massive skull and a dinosaur dig box.
Well, the dig box is popular really with all ages, but it's great for little kids because they can get in there and actually take a spoon and take a toothpick and take a brush and actually dig for dinosaur bones. And they actually find dinosaur bones. So as quickly as they find them, we bury them again and stick some more kids in there and start over. The interactive components of the exhibit are also exciting because you can look through the eyes of a dinosaur and learn what, again, they saw and how clear their vision was and how strong they were and how big they were and how, again, what they ate. And it's just a lot of information that is good to enhance what they can already learn here at the museum and our permanent galleries, and also kind of gives you the perspective of what it was like 67 million years ago when these things were crawling around on Earth.
A Milwaukee-only addition to Sue includes a life-size model of a dinosaur created by museum artists. Based on recent fossil finds in China, it's meant to show the link between dinosaurs and modern-day birds.
And one thing that's interesting about Sue is this little bone that goes right in between these two bones. We're calling that the wishbone. Now, and this is what leads us to know that birds have evolved from the dinosaurs. Another feature that leads to the evolution theory for birds are the feet. If you look at that foot, what does it look like to you? What kind of other animal? Yes. Right. Looks like a turkey or a chicken or a bird. The reason they weren't so sure whether Sue was a boy or a girl is because of this bone right here at the beginning of the tailbone. Females don't have that. When they first finished digging her out, they didn't find that bone. And so they named her Sue, which was all right because Sue Hendrickson was the one that found her. But then later on they found the bone. Now what to do? So she's still Sue, but that's why it may be a boy named Sue, because that is typically found only in males.
It's been a destination that people have come to over and over again, which is always good, but this offers something new for the person who might have been here and seen our Third Planet Gallery. This is another place for them to come down and learn more about dinosaurs, and also take a look at what's behind the scenes, because our researchers, Peter Sheehan and his group, have done some extensive research and have been quoted over and over again, nationally and internationally, about how the dinosaurs became extinct.
Peter Sheehan's research has helped spur the asteroid theory of dinosaur extinction. The Milwaukee Public Museum is open from 9 to 5 daily. Admission to Sioux is free with museum admission. If cost is a concern, Milwaukee County residents can always get in free 1 day a week.
We want people to know that we're here for everyone, and we want to encourage people to come down. And if price is an issue, on Mondays, if you're a Milwaukee County resident, we take that away, and you can come right on in for free.
For more information on the Sioux exhibit and other dinosaur activities, call the Milwaukee Public Museum at 278-2702 or check the website.
It's a topic that has it allows your imagination to kind of wander, because it's very difficult to think of a 42-foot animal, that walked Earth, and at the same time, it's real. I mean, this is a real thing. These are real bones. These are real facts. These things really did occupy the Earth 67 million years ago.